Buenas Micronesia, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Johnny Rosario.
Welcome to this Thursday, September 26th newscast of Kandit News. Welcome to our studios in Tumon, Guam. And before batteries start to fall all over the place, we have a lot of news tonight. Let's just get started with news story.
Don't forget to follow us on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. YouTube.
And our website, www.candidnews.com.
Yeah, that's received actually thousands
Faster.
in traffic.
Yeah. But I believe even before our stories hit Facebook, it's put on our website. So if you want to be part of that mailing list, you just sign up go to our website and sign up for our news broadcast.
Yeah. Our first story. Affy Addy, who goes by several other names, including Frosty, attacked a Payless cop with a knife in front of the Dead store yesterday afternoon. The victim, I'm not laughing at the attack, I'm laughing at his name. The victim, who was uninjured, was responding to complaints from customers that Mr. Addy was harassing them in front of the store. He was drunk. Mr. Addy refused to leave the premises, then quickly swung a pocket knife across the victim's chest, brushing him with the blade. Mr. Addy has 10 aliases known to the Attorney General's office and 7 birth dates ranging from January 1, 1970 to September 9, 1990. Happy belated birthday to him and his 10 other aliens. Prosecutor Alyssa Draper D. Hart, in her declaration of probable cause, accuses Mr. Addy of aggravated assault as a third-degree felony with a special allegation of use or possession of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony. Again, his crime isn't funny, but his name is his 11 names. Kandit decided not to print all of his aliases, but
Frosty.
Except for Frosty. But he did have, I believe, I want to say nine different birth dates, and this actually is a big issue. It is, and this came up when Governor Eddie Calvo was in office, and he was deporting people who had criminal records, right? Mm-hmm. From Guam. He was, what do you call that thing? Commuting their sentences if they were over at DOC, and then having them removed from the island to go back to wherever they came from. Part of the problem was that some of these people's identifications were all over the place, including their birth dates. And so
including over at the DMV?
Everywhere.
Wow.
If you think about it, some of these people are homeless. And so they just have never... So they don't have any records and stuff. So the problem is that when they're sent back to say, let's say it's Pohnpei, mm-hmm. And they're told never to come back to Guam. Well, what if they get a passport issued under another name with a different birth date that's not on record? They are able to come back. That was one of the issues. Anyway, Sorry. So our second story.
A woman called police while her drunk boyfriend, Castellano Last, 29, was trying to break into her home to beat her. He did just that moments before police arrived to save her. This morning before 1:30 a.m., Mr. Last's girlfriend called 911 to report he was outside her home, where she had locked him out. He began yelling and banging on the doors and windows and threatened to beat her up if she did not let him back into the house. That was when she called police. Mr. Last broke into the home before police arrived and began beating her. She was able to exit the house as police arrived. Mr. Last was drunk. Prosecutor Renata Saniklis, in her declaration of probable cause, accuses Mr. Last of family violence as a misdemeanor.
A 15-year-old girl cried uncontrollably to police when they arrived at her school to take her complaint that a man who lives with her has been molesting her since she was 13. Tom Rachim, 42, began abusing the girl since she was in middle school, first by fondling her vagina with his fingers, then with his tongue, according to a declaration of probable cause by prosecutor Christine Santos Tenorio. Quote, on at least one occasion, the victim awoke to a painful session on her vagina area described as a strong grip on her clitoris, Ms. Tenorio wrote. Following another assault, Mr. Richam is accused of licking the girl's vagina. He turned to her as he was leaving her bedroom and told her, quote, you should have locked your door, unquote. A few days ago, the document states, Mr. Richam offered marijuana to the girl. They smoked the cigarette together, and then he told her to take off her clothes so he could see her breasts. Ms. Tenorio accuses Mr. Richam of second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. Mr. Richam denies the accusations. What do you think of? So there was one more story that we were unable to cover because it's just been such a busy news day. But
There's a lot of that, Troy.
so there were 5, and I believe 4 of them involved some sort of violence or the hurting of another person. But this issue of the attacking of women and children. One of the ones that we didn't cover is another rape issue, right?
13-year-old girl.
13-year-old, and it was through sexting or online
No,
something.
they met online.
Was it Craigslist?
So it didn't say. It just said they met online.
Terrible. These things that are going on. They're
I think
terrible.
a lot of I'm not saying that parents, it's the parents' fault, but parents, we need to be more in tune with our children. I know it's busy, we're with work, we're doing things at the house, but even what helps in my family is having dinner, and you'll notice changes in your children, or you just have that 30-minute sit down out of a 24-hour day, and you'll notice your kids.
Cool.
And it might even open them up to, my mom or my dad takes 30 minutes out of their day. I'm gonna tell them, So it's building that trust for your kids to tell you what's going on in their life.
So that small thing is just such a significant
Yes.
thing in actuality.
Yes.
And that minute amount of time compared to the rest of the day.
Right.
Awesome. I think that's great parent. You're a great parent. P.S.
Thanks.
You're a great
You're
parent.
biased.
Well, if I were to reveal my bias, I would say you're fucked up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. When we come back, a series of stories regarding Jonia Mayor Joey. What's his name? Jesse Blas and his very close friend, former deputy director of the prisons, Joey Terlaje, and how all of this involves the silence of Governor Lulian Guerrero.
I find no issue with it because, I just got back from the state auditor's conference, and my jaw dropped because the average salary right now that all state auditors are paying is $50,000. I asked this question, I said, what? Straight out of college, no experience, $50,000. Most of their management team are upwards of $100,000. And
But once that $50,000 salary
I
straight
don't know
up,
why
wait,
we're
let's-
paying that. I think it's worth it.
the additional bonus on top of the increase that you're now getting because you managed to get through the legislature are concurrence that we're going to adopt the Kerry study.
And for the office with the 10 employees that you have, or whatever number you have, you need 60,000 for the certification or pay, or is that's in the event somebody
No,
else gets
that's
a,
already funded. That's already funded. That's already in our, that's, if you turn to the schedule, we're talking 60,264 is the certification pay for 1, 2, 3, 6 individuals.
Okay. I have nothing further. We stand in recess until.
Mr. Speaker, if I just may say, you and I both are very passionate. And I'll miss this exchange. Thank you.
I will need an additional $70,000 just to pay for the certification pay for those on my staff that are qualified. It wasn't in my budget request because I didn't ask for it. But if this legislature is going to leave it in the budget, then I will have to comply and provide them with their certification adjustment, and that would cost the office an additional $70,000. So I just point that out. But I can't tell you how wonderful the 5 Auditor 3s that stepped up to take over the management team of the office has been, and how smoothly it has run since then. They've taken over, and I feel so bad that they can't get one. We can't reclassify 3 of them, 4 of them. I mean, because everything, all promotions and increments were suspended during the fiscal year. So I can't do any reclassifications and give them increments as minuscule as it is by comparison. But it is the Office of Public Accountability, and we have to live within the law, and we will live within the law. And if it is provided to us, we'll provide it to them. If it's not, then we'll have to tell them that it's not going to be provided.
Joey Terlaje was at a sex party hosted by his close friend, Jotnya Mayor Jesse Blas, when Mr. Terlaje witnessed Mr. Blas punch a woman hard in the face, drag her into his room, and confine her against her will. This woman is a Federal Bureau of Investigation confidential source of information, an unknown female who is not Brenda in the Jesse Blas case. According to testimony provided by FBI Special Agent Rafael Fernandez, this woman revealed the presence and participation of Mr. Terlaje, Mr. Blas, and other Guam marshals. The other people at the party were other women who had active warrants. The CI presented voice recordings to the FBI where Mr. Fernandez describes Mr. Blas apologizing to the woman for assaulting and confining her on that occasion. Last night, Kandit brought you the latest on our ongoing coverage of sexual extortion of Guam Deputy Marshal Alan Eckley, who pursued women with active warrants and extorted them by demanding sex, or he would arrest and confine them. These men are the subjects of a massive investigation into police and public corruption by the FBI. Their crimes in this case involving this woman and the other women with active warrants rises to accusations of human trafficking, rape, and abuse of power under the color of law.
Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Rafael Fernandez told attorneys and the judge in the Jesse Blas case that the Jonia mayor paid people at the local prison to free inmates. The mayor wasn't only accepting bribes from drug dealers. The mayor also was bribing high-ranking officials $15,000 each to assist in releasing inmates from prison. The mayor does maintain contact with high-ranking folks at the prison. According to this testimony, the mayor was willing to allow inmates to be released. At some point, he paid to get somebody out of the Department of Corrections. This according to testimony from Mr. Fernandez. The defendant also has ties to local Guam marshals, according to Mr. Fernandez. Since the start of the Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration on at least three occasions, DOC had reported the accidental release of inmates from DOC. Throughout this entire time, Joey Terlaje was the prison's deputy director. Mr. Blas and Mr. Terlaje are close friends and served as Guam marshals together. Oh, sorry, it's back to me. Pardon us. A woman accused Jonia Mayor Jesse Blas of stealing 2 parcels of methamphetamine sent to a mailbox provided by Mr. Blas for drug trafficking. This is according to testimony by Federal Bureau of Investigation Special Agent Rafael Fernandez in District Court Tuesday. Mr. Fernandez was recounting information from a confidential source, an unnamed woman in the Blas case who had a romantic relationship with the mayor. The woman who accused the Jonia mayor of stealing her drugs is convicted felon Lovelia Mendoza. According to the information, Mr. Blas provided access to a confidential informant known only as Brenda to a mailbox among the cluster of mailboxes the U.S. Postal Service assigned to Jonia. Mr. Blas was in charge of assigning mailboxes to residents of Jonia. He was not supposed to charge anyone for the use of the mailboxes. He did charge Brenda fees for the use and continued use of the mailboxes in a conspiracy where he knew she would be importing methamphetamine through the mailboxes. He even extorted Brenda for payment later in the conspiracy. Mr. Blas had the keys to the cluster of mailboxes. While not charged with specific drug crimes, the accusation by Ms. Mendoza exposes Mr. Blas to possession and trafficking charges and opens new suspicion that Mr. Blas was actively involved in the drug trade. FBI agents raided the Jonia mayor's office last week. It is unclear whether his home was raided as well.
The governor will not answer whether she has ordered an internal investigation into the Department of Corrections since Federal Bureau of Investigation testimony in federal court revealed corrupt and illegal activity by Joey Terlaje. Until yesterday, Mr. Terlaje was second in command of the island's prison system. He resigned amid the growing corruption scandal. Mr. Terlaje, a former Guam marshal and authority over the prison's command staff, the operations of the prison include the detention and incarceration of detainees and inmates remanded to DOC by both local and federal courts. The treatment of the prisoners, including where they are confined, the privileges they receive, their protection from danger, their access to the outside world, their visitation rights, their incoming toiletries and clothes, their ability to make phone calls, and their access to rehabilitative services all fell under Mr. Terlaje's purview. Federal prosecutors charge his close friend and former colleague in the Marshal Service, Jonia Mayor Jesse Blas, in District Court Monday on corruption charges related to drug trafficking. During Mr. Blas's arraignment, FBI Special Agent Rafael Fernandez testified that Mr. Blas is accused of bribing high-ranking DOC officials to release inmates from prison. Since the start of Governor Lou Leon Guerrero's administration, at least 2 instances of inmates and detainees being released accidentally have been reported. One of those instances happened on Monday, September 9 this year. Rodney Joe Cruz, who had been in DOC custody since February, was released that night at 11:03 p.m. He was returned to the prison by marshals at around 10:40 a.m. the following day. Mr. Cruz is being detained in a case where he is accused of choking and shaking a 15-year-old girl known to him and punching her repeatedly. Mr. Cruz has a history of violence, public drunkenness, and outstanding warrants dating back nearly 20 years. In August 2016, he was convicted of terrorizing, use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony, unregistered firearms, possession of a firearm without an ID, and family violence. Mr. Fernandez, in his testimony, told attorneys that Mr. Blas bribed officials $15,000 each time one was willing to release an inmate or detainee. Kandit late tonight asked DOC Major Anton Uggen via WhatsApp whether Mr. Cruz is accounted for and actually incarcerated at this time. Though Mr. Cruz is supposed to have been in DOC custody since February, he was able to post on his personal Facebook page a profile update timestamped 2:11 a.m. on May 11, 2019. A commenter on a story in the Guam Daily Post said of Mr. Cruz's supposed incarceration, "I find that hard to believe when I see him at a gathering." The suspicion of corruption that led to the illegal release of prison inmates and detainees, now fueled by FBI testimony of it, may be the tip of the iceberg on a larger issue corrupting the prison system. We may never know if Ms. Leongro refuses to take a look at her appointee's activities during his tenure as Deputy Director of Corrections since January this year. In the Fernandez testimony, Mr. Terlaje also is accused of having sex with women who have active warrants and of witnessing and not reporting the assault of a woman by Mr. Blas at a sex party. Mr. Blas is accused of dragging the woman into his house, then confining her against her will for 3 days. The information of such a federal investigation into Mr. Terlaje would have manifested in a thorough background check of Mr. Terlaje by the FBI prior to his appointment by Mrs. Leon Guerrero. A thorough background check is required according to Public Law 34-167 prior to the legislative confirmation of governor's appointees as Director of Corrections. Senator Talina Nelson's mandate lapsed into law without Governor Eddie Calvo's signature on December 28 last year. Deputy Director positions, however, do not require any such background check. We asked Governor's Director of Communications, Janela Carrera, what background check, if any, was conducted prior to the appointment of Mr. Terlaje. We asked whether the governor's office engaged the FBI in any such background investigation and whether the governor was aware of any of the allegations against Mr. Terlaje. She has not answered any of our questions yet. This growing federal probe into public and police corruption is moving forward in the district court and is anchored by a massive FBI investigation and a Hawaii grand jury being run by Assistant U.S. Attorney Rosetta Saniclas since October last year. Ms. Leon Guerrero, though she has said she opposes corruption, has yet to act on her words with a transparent investigation into her own administration.
Hot damn, that's a good story. I mean, not good, but like it was.
It was a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks, Cello.
Do you want some Doucet gourmet cookies?
I had some.
They're not paying us for that little shout out. They're good. I don't even know where to start with this idea about them because the governor has been non-transparent about several things.
The governor has never been transparent.
But you would think that on this case, though.
No, she's not.
If she wants to show the people that she is not part of this corruption, that it was a mistake to choose Terlaje, she would say so.
She's not.
It's so ridiculous. I keep saying that. I say
And,
it's ridiculous.
and I'm pretty
so
sure
often.
that the federal government, or I know for a fact, okay? People need to keep in mind, the FBI is nothing like the Guam Police Department.
Yeah,
okay?
got that right.
When the feds want you, they have access to all this money, and they make sure they dot their I's and they cross their T's before anything even exits their mouth.
So whenever they say something on the stand where they know that the public is going to have access to it, you can just rest assured or drive yourself crazy depending on what side you're on.
And you know, to think about it, like them saying something on the stand with Mr. Blas, that could have them bringing, whenever you get arrested from the federal government, and I know this from personal experience.
Okay.
You get driven under the parking lot at the district court. You go into the parking lot that's in the bottom. Have you ever been there? Okay, because you've never been arrested federally. Okay, I have. When they bring you in, you drive under the courthouse, and you are walked in. You're not walked in through the front door.
So that was a statement.
They do not bring you in through that front door.
Unless you're Junior Mayor Jesse Blas.
So that was a statement from the Federal Bureau of Investigations making a statement to all these corrupted officials, okay, that even them saying certain names on the stand, and I'm pretty sure they held back for a good reason. But we need to know as a community that they said names so they can see them squirm. Mind you, all of those phone conversations, everything they have on them, it's probably
wiretaps,
still
right?
being wiretapped up to now. So,
It's like a giddy little schoolgirl over here.
yeah.
No. Well, what's not a happy occasion is
The families
the
involved.
families involved.
And
yeah.
and when you learn to finally overcome your selfishness and think about things that you've done for your personal gain, you step on other people's neck to get what you want, you do illegal things. When you finally become sober and aware, when that jail cell finally shuts in front of you, and some people realize it at that moment, and some people don't. It took me a couple times to figure it out. Okay. You're not the one suffering. It's the people around you. Your wife, if you have a wife, it's your wife. If you have kids, it's your children. It's your coworkers, your friends that have to answer for you. And me, I feel bad. But let me tell you something about all these people. Yes, their family, maybe the kids didn't know, maybe the wife knew. But if you were aware of what was going on around you and you did not speak up, you are part of the problem.
Oh,
If
yes.
you turned a blind eye knowing that these things were going on, you are part of that major problem that Guam has. We are too small for this.
And really, a lot of this suspicion has been going around in the community for quite some time.
Yeah.
It wasn't news
Little
to some
girl,
people.
hey Troy, that's enough. Stop talking about that. We all know that was happening.
Yeah.
How many times has somebody said that to you?
Well, not lately. Maybe last year, but not lately.
And then I get messages, and I know it's from people that care about me. I get messages in my inbox like, Johnny, please be careful. There's crazy people out there. Why are you messaging me that? Why don't you message KUAM and PNC and the Post and tell them to be careful as well? The only difference between us and them is that we're more in debt with what's really, we're not sugarcoating it.
And so there have been some comments, some from trolls, some from real people who are they're close to these people who we're reporting on. And we're not going to apologize for making these reports because we're just reporting on what is. And we're reporting based on facts, based on what is known. But, I understand. I get it. They're crying for their loved ones. They are sad that this is happening. They don't want to see them they're plastered on the news and whatever. But hopefully when a sober moment comes about this, when the dust settles on all of this, those people hopefully will understand that this is how the cookie crumbles. And the only way to get rid of corruption on this island, which hurts everybody, including your loved ones, is for people to speak up. And thankfully, they're
It needs to start somewhere.
in these transcripts and the audio recordings. There's mention of a woman who spoke up because of how she was being hurt.
abused. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was the corruption that was keeping her from being able to say anything. Can you imagine being a prisoner of corruption, being a prisoner of people who will have their way with you simply because they have all of that power? That's why police corruption is the worst kind of corruption that there is. And we're just glad that the FBI is finally cracking down on it. Want to go over some comments? Good morning, Rose, Rose Cartwright, Hafaday, Lynn Tidinko. Hi, Dora Marie. Hi, Irene Alcantara.
Hi, Sabine.
Hi, Sabine. Hi, Doreen. Hi, Rita. Hi, John, who always joins us from Texas. Hi, Marvin, who joins us from Manilao. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He's saying Hafaday John from Manilao. Sorry. Our sister Amy Jackson says just popped in to share and say I love you and we'll watch when I wake up. She has to wake up early for school. Hi Alfred. Hi Kate. Hi Carl, who's always watching us from California.
Carl's a friend of mine.
Hi Rita. I know Cucks
Yeah.
for
Hux's
years.
brother.
For years.
Yeah.
Hi Michelle, who says half a day from the Carolinas. Oh, I love North Carolina. I've never been to South Carolina though. Vincent James Cruz says good evening and good morning. Our auntie from another panty, Rosalind and Michael Cruz, say shared my love for Kandit News, Troy, Johnny, and Eric. Thank you. Sabine says, why not fingerprint coming into Guam? That was a debate. I believe it's, don't quote me on this, or don't hold me to this, but I believe, if I can remember the conversations from that deportation stuff, it's because when these people are coming from the freely associated states,
They just come in.
They don't have to go through immigration. So the fingerprinting device is at the immigration station and not at, oh no, that can't be right because everyone goes, oh no, if you go through the U.S. side or whatever.
Well, that's another loophole that our officials have to work on.
This one may be the fault of U.S. immigration though and not the government of Guam.
Well, let's write a bill. Let's write something.
If I can remember it correctly. And that's the importance of being at the table for these compact impact or whatever. And I believe the governor is like trying to get officials from Guam on that table in the renegotiation of the compacts. John Sala says, and that's how Mr. Defrost gets into Guam every time he's deported 11 times. LOL. I gave myself that news story tonight. It was like, Chelo, I'm taking this one. It's too funny. Gina Call says disgusting. I'm going to guess she's talking about the one about, is it Tom Reacham? The rapist, allegedly. Eric responds to our auntie Seduce Maasi. Lynn responds to Marvin with Hafa de Marvin. Buenas, Big Tone Mendiola. Georgine, this was when you were talking. She said you're right. Hi Marie. Rita says, yep. Leilani Marie Tating Fung says, hell yeah, it's all going to come to light.
Hi, Cuzzo.
John Salas says, well said, Johnny. Rita Arceo says, the who, what, where, and when. Jamie Keha says, hi, Johnny and Troy from Arizona. Hi.
Hafade.
Leilani Tating Fung says, I'm so ashamed of my village, missing the days Jonya was when I was younger. I lived in Jonya for years. I actually voted for Mayor Jesse Blas in the 2016
Leilani
election.
is actually my first cousin. We grew up like sisters. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Brad. All
We
the
did
way
a lot
from.
of naughty things together.
She's gonna call you up now. She's like,
Prim,
hey.
do you remember my cousin Lonnie, Auntie Janice's daughter? You have to see her face, right, Prim? She's my first cousin on my mom's side.
Carl Blas says a lot of people aren't sleeping good these days. Great job, Candid, and with the Guam flag. This is Biba Guam. Biba Guam. Gina Gall says, Dracula Naora, can you have your shows back at 9 p.m.? Okay, so we want to have our shows at 8 p.m. It's just, it takes long to do the stories. And a lot of times it's because, well, we don't get responses from the governor's office quick or from some of the agencies. Like Guam Police Department never responds because I don't know what's up with Sergeant Paul Tapao. He just never responds to any of these very important questions. Hi, Cristela Adriano. Hi, Therese Kichichu.
You should give us a good picture, nice, so we can put a good picture up instead of, maybe some people are mad because some of the pictures we find.
Hey, that is not my fault. They
If
gotta
you don't
take
like-
that up.
if
They gotta
you
take
don't-
that up with God.
No, but if you don't like the picture, send us a good picture of you.
Okay, one of the reasons, and I've talked about David Crisostomo a lot, right? One of the reasons that I just love talking smack about David Crisostomo is because when he was the editor of the PDN, and he was the person who was in charge of like all the stories and the pictures.
He always
that
put that.
Emmer effer always put the fat pictures of me in PDN anytime he could. Just the freaking fattest looking, and I'm not photogenic to begin with.
Oh, whatever.
And no, I'm not. I like when I take a picture, like or like
Or your eyes are like a...
Anyway, Carl Blas says Jotnya rules. Marvin Francisco says, is Jotnya still the new capital of Guam? Rosie Bear is asking, is the governor going to Vegas this weekend?
No,
No.
she is not. She
canceled
canceled
her
her trip to be here for the dengue cases.
Leilani Taiting Fong, your prim, says, LOL, I miss you, Juan.
Congratulations on the baby, on Bruce.
Marie Savlon says, sorry, Gina, I like this time morning news here. She's in Las Vegas. Hi, Marie.
Hi, Marie.
Marie and I were classmates, and we made...
I was classmates with her.
we were classmates in... You were Bishop, right?
Yeah.
We were classmates in Notre Dame, and one day... So Marie and I were the kinds to get bored fast. And one day, on a boring walk from, I think it was math to theology or something like that, we took the Little Mermaid song, Part of Your World, and we made a parody of it. And I can't sing that on Facebook because we'll get suspended again.
We are suspended, actually,
But,
guys.
yeah, we're we're in Facebook jail again.
We just had one good day, and then...
It's because the governor's office keeps reporting our account. And how do we know it's the governor's office? Because we can see the list, idiots. Don't worry. I mean, you count on me to get back at you. Don't you worry. I will get back at you.
You will.
Trust. Marie says, morning, Johnny and Troy. Oh boy, here it comes. History. LOL.
Don't worry, Marie. I'm not going to talk about anything that we did.
Hi. Hi, Franklin Paris. Hi, Davina Benavides. Hi, Lennon, Britt Ariola, and Donna Marie. Jeff Ekfaji says, never respond because too scared to be put on the spot. Sorry.
You know, it's not so much being put on the spot. It's just having answers.
Well, actually, for the past couple of weeks, I haven't been doing the live call. What do you call it? Where we put them on the spot. I've just been calling or messaging or whatever and asking for a response, and they just. But some agencies are really good at it. Like if I call a bureaucrat or like a non-political appointee, because the gag order by the governor, right? Those people are always so happy to provide information. How do you think we get tax refund information? Mm-hmm. It's because of bureaucrats who just gladly give us the information about what's going on. Yeah, anyway, they should just tell the truth, and they should stop being corrupt.
Mm-hmm. Stop spinning it, dancing around. A story's going to come out. People are going to talk about it, and then what we would love to happen is for things to get fixed because of the story, and then we could work on it. We can even report about it being fixed or trying to get fixed, Mm-hmm. That's how this is supposed to work.
Yeah. Courtesy. Jamie Kea says, get them, Troy. It's hard getting through the government via phone, even harder call from the States. I'll bet. Franklin Paris says, changing Guam with every successful expose of corruption is a feather in your cap and improving the lives of our people.
Oh, thank you, Franklin.
Thank you. So, we are going to get off the air now, and we are going to be working on a major story that came to us tonight, and
major, guys, major.
It is a huge story, and so we might publish the story.
We
tonight,
might save it.
And we might.
I think we're gonna save it for our 9:00 live tomorrow night.
But I might get my Godai in the middle of the night.
I'm unplugging the internet, guys. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. Please do not forget, we also have a YouTube channel. That's Kandit News Group, and then our webpage at www.kandidnews.com.
God bless you all. We love you.
Good night.